So much to get to, and we shall, including more on the death of an American icon. But this hour we do begin with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, who will finally come face to face on a stage tonight. The first presidential debate will likely be the most watched in history, with an expected audience of upwards of 100 million or more. Tonight's event does come as the newest Bloomberg poll shows these two candidates tied at 46% apiece. Clinton had led in this poll by 6 points following the conventions of this summer. The latest four-way matchup survey by Quinnipiac University also shows the two candidates within the margin of error. Clinton has been so focused on preparing for tonight that she only appeared, in fact, at 2 events in the last week. Meanwhile, Donald Trump held 9 events and hasn't taken time, it would seem, to hold any mock debates. Still, Trump's surrogates don't seem too worried.
Trump is doing great. He's being himself.
Mr. Trump is ready for the debate. He's very excited.
I think Donald Trump has been preparing for this debate for his entire lifetime.
CBS News correspondents Major Garrett and Nancy Cordes here with us at Hofstra to break it all down. Major, I'll start with you. We just heard Rudy Giuliani, Mike Pence, speaking to the idea that perhaps he's been preparing for this moment his whole life. Perhaps he didn't need the preparation that Hillary Clinton had put in the last week, certainly weeks and months, perhaps. What then to make of the touting of expectation as we head into what we'll see?
Look, we'll get to expectations in a second, but this process, this theatrical stage, invests both competitors with something that is real and profound at this moment in a presidential campaign. When it gets down to 2 and the American public see them walk out on stage, both are invested with legitimacy instantly. That's going to help Trump as soon as he walks on stage, because the improbability of all of this will be cemented when he does that. None of us would have said a year ago that this would come down to Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. The fact that it did, the fact that Donald Trump became the Republican juggernaut, secured the nomination, fell far behind Hillary Clinton, and has now scrambled back into a statistical dead heat, and is now here on this first debate night, essentially the equivalent of Hillary Clinton, with a life of politics and public service, is almost a victory as soon as he steps on stage. And anything after that on this first debate night is gravy for the Trump campaign. That's why their sense of expectations is so buoyant. That's why they're bullish about this, because they believe, absent an utter catastrophe, which they don't foresee, the very fact that he's here and will go toe-to-toe with Hillary Clinton makes him the net winner of the evening.
He has said quite plainly, I don't believe that my supporters care about policy. They certainly don't hold me accountable for policy positions, at least at this point. If there's one thing then that Donald Trump is looking to do tonight, perhaps, other than walk to the lectern and not trip and fall,
right,
what is it?
So I can imagine a scenario where Hillary Clinton, for the 5th or 6th time, recites policy at a much greater level of detail than Donald Trump. And at one moment, Donald Trump looking in the camera and say, yes, I will grant you. Hillary Clinton knows the wrong direction much better than I do. I'm for change. She's for the status quo. She can know all the ways to take America in the wrong direction. Great. That's your bailiwick. You have at it. I know my direction. It's simple. It's pure. The American people are responding to it, and leave it at that.
And that's why the Clinton campaign wants to make sure that the message that she sends tonight isn't just that I know more policy than Donald Trump does, but that I understand the world better than Donald Trump does, and that it's dangerous not to understand the nature of the problem, because then you can't possibly hope to fix it. So yes, she wants to show that she's got more policy specifics than he does, and that she's thought more deeply about these issues. But she also wants to make the argument that it's not a plus not to be well versed in these issues, because you never know what you're going to face as president of the United States.
But that does seem a very difficult needle to thread, taking what you would argue is her greatest strength.
Yes.
Especially when we talk about a lifetime of public service. It seems like everything has been leading now to this moment, part 2, and to face a candidate for whom it might all just be ether.
Yes, and another complication that she faces, and this is something that they've been working through all weekend, is how much time do you spend fact-checking Donald Trump, pointing out what they're calling his 7 deadly lies, which they have helpfully handed out to all members of the press to say, be on the lookout for some of these things that he says over and over again that simply aren't true, like the fact that he opposed the Iraq War from the beginning, et cetera, et cetera. How much time does she spend fact-checking him, rebutting him, versus talking about her own agenda and her own beliefs? She doesn't want to come across as someone who's sort of like nagging him throughout the entire 90 minutes. Those are their words, not mine. They want to also show that she's got sort of positive ideas, and so that's a difficult needle to thread.
There is one area of vulnerability for Trump, and that is this. He can say and deflect on Hillary Clinton, you know the wrong direction better than I do. But if he doesn't know his own direction, and let's be honest, I've watched all of these policy speeches the last 2 or 3 weeks. Not only are they read off a teleprompter, but they're not the basis, and they didn't grow up out of an intense policy debate within the Trump campaign. They are essentially poured into the teleprompter by pre-existing conservative think tanks. Okay? So if Donald Trump doesn't know his own policy, and Hillary Clinton may very well press him on what you actually know about what you're proposing. Do you remember any of the details? And if he doesn't know his direction, and that's something that can be exposed in a lengthy debate, he can deflect on where she's going. But if he doesn't know his own stuff well enough, and that can be exposed, and I'd be interested to see if the Clinton campaign wants to go down that road, either on the consequences or the underlying details. Because if he doesn't have them, then voters may say, well, wait a minute, maybe this is just a lot of sloganeering, and that might make them a little uncomfortable.
And we have seen where people who are far more well-versed in policy, who haven't taken the time to prepare, have gotten tripped up in debates themselves. President Obama, in the first debate against Mitt Romney in 2012, kind of took it a little easy. He figured, I'm the president of the United States. I know this stuff cold. And he didn't, even his own advisor said he didn't take debate prep as seriously as he should have, and he was widely seen to have lost that first debate.
And yet Donald Trump seems to be wearing his lack of preparation as some sort of badge of honor. We also heard Hillary Clinton, in accepting the nomination in Philadelphia, point to Donald Trump very specifically and call him a dangerous man who can be baited with a tweet. Tonight does figure then to be about optics and perhaps moments as much as anything. When do you suppose we might see the first opportunity to bait Donald Trump?
That's a hard question to answer, because in the first half hour, I really do expect them to sort of be sizing each other up. I expect each of them to have a couple of ready-made lines, but not the best line of the night. They're going to save that. There is a sort of timing mechanism behind all this. When do you strike? When do you counterpunch? I think Hillary Clinton has a lot of different directions to go. And part of what you do in a debate prep, and part of the preparation for a debate, is understanding lots of different scenarios, not executing all of them, and picking the right moment for the right rejoinder. So not in the last half hour, for sure, because this really is a process by which media reflection of what happened drives a lot of the secondary understanding of what happened. If you look at political science research on this, what the media says about the debate is just as important, if not more important, than what people actually saw themselves. And that's really frozen in that first 30 to 45 minutes.
And to my point with regard to that, in speaking to John Dickerson and Bob Schieffer today, I asked them, I want to get your ideas as well. The real impact of social media on what we could see tonight, because even in 2012, social media en masse was still in its relative infancy. Tonight, this will be the idea, the baking of the cake will be happening from the first words, and it will play out on Twitter and other forms of social media in real time. Instant judging will be taking place. There won't even be time by debate's end to talk about what they think they saw, because everybody will have already.
And that can work both ways for someone like Hillary Clinton. On one hand, there is sort of an online army of fact checkers waiting for Donald Trump to make a proclamation that has already been shown to be untrue. On the other hand, there's a great concern on the part of the Clinton campaign that there will sort of be a different bar for Donald Trump than Hillary Clinton, that people will start to respond online, hey, he's really keeping it together and he's so serious. serious and, almost looks presidential. And there's this great fear that, the bar for him will not be as high as the bar for her, that people expect her to come out and know her facts, and people expect her to be serious, and they expect her to talk about her ideas for the future, and that if he is just able to do the same thing or something approximating it, then he will be declared the winner of this debate. So they've been arguing very strenuously that he needs to be held to the same standard as she does.
And look, there are potential moments that any of us can script right now. Hillary Clinton could look at Donald Trump and say, I've been really eager to do this. Do you honestly believe I'm a bigot? And just laser in right on it. And in that moment, what does Donald Trump say? Well, yes, no, maybe, whatever. That's a pre-made moment. Any of us can see that. Anyone can see how that could possibly be scripted.
Or what is it with you and Putin anyway?
Or what? Any variety of things. And for Trump, he has the same sort of things. Why have you been in public life for 30 years, and why do you seem to make more money every year you and your husband are in public life? What is the public service aspect that has this incredible financial bonanza for you? I mean, any of us can script those moments. It's when they happen and how you deal with them, and how the other candidate deals with your response. And all of that give and take is sitting there waiting to happen. We just have to wait to watch it happen.
Very technically, we will be waiting until 9:03:30 p.m. Eastern. You might want to give yourselves a couple of minutes wiggle room just to make sure you're in the seats. Major Garrett, Nancy Cordes, as always.
Thanks.
Thanks, Josh.